Tuvasa the Sunlit versus Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow. I've been intrigued to see what this deck does in 1v1 because I've been thinking of making it myself. I'm going to keep that hand because we can go into Miri's Guile on turn 1 and then hopefully Argothian Enchantress on turn 2. And we may well be seeing a Yuriko on turn 2. But we get into a land, which is good. So I'm not going to go for Mystic Remora because I imagine they're going to go for black mana into Yuriko once that thing flies through. So we'll get down Miri's Guile here and we can fix our draws for next turn. Yuriko the Tiger Shadow has Commander Ninjutsu for black and blue. That means that you can return an unblocked attacker you control to your hand and put the commander onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. And that's done after blockers, of course. Whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to the card's CMC. So 1/3 for 3 mana, but you're never paying the commander tax on that thing. Or the actual cost of the card you're never playing, you're just getting it out for its ninjutsu cost. And Umezawa's Jitte is something that we really don't want to see. We'll just go for... I think we go for a Plains here. We'll shuffle the rest away. And we'll get down our Argothian Enchantress. She does have Shroud, so don't have to worry too much about the Jitte. And we'll go for green and white here, which is Savannah. And then that's 2 mana. And this thing is the cheapest Enchantress in the deck. 2 mana for a 0/1, but it has Shroud. Whenever we cast an enchantment spell, we draw a card, of course. That is what makes her an Enchantress. Tuvasa is a 1/1 in Bant. And she gets +1/+1 for each enchantment we control. Whenever we cast our first enchantment spell each turn, we draw a card. So we're going to have to be careful running out our commander. I think our opponent's struggling on black mana, so that's good. I think we have to go for Maze of Ith. Arguably we should have done that last turn. Sterling Grove is nice. So it's Sun Titan, Forest and Sterling Grove. And that means that we can go Maze of Ith and Sterling Grove. That will give our enchantment Shroud. It will also draw us a card into the Forest, I think it was. Did we put on top? And then we have, of course, made our land drop for the turn. So just kind of stalling at the minute and trying to slow our opponent down. But next turn we could probably go for our commander. Or do we want to go for Mystic Remora? I don't know. They have Wasteland, of course, so they can get rid of Maze of Ith. That's bad for us. Yeah, that's pretty bad. We can try and set up Quarantine Field in that case. Okay, they're just buffing the... Yeah, that's not what I would do with the Umezawa's Jitte. I would certainly wait for us to play out our commander and then you could kill it with the Jitte. Well, not to worry. That's we've at least gotten a Wasteland out of their hand. And it's not like they're ramping at all. Okay, I think we go for the Tundra. So we'll just grab our commander here. And then next turn we can look at getting rid of that Umezawa's Jitte. And our commander will obviously come in as a 3/3. They can choose to swing in with the Jitte and then kill our commander if they want to. But if they're doing that, at least they're not buffing their sliver. Okay, they are going for buffing the sliver again. I don't think... Well, yeah, I suppose they could do that and then kill our Tuvasa anyway. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. So they get rid of our commander, and at least we can still get a card draw next turn with the quarantine field. Have to put 4 mana into that to get rid of the Jitte. And at that point, our opponent just has some dorks that can't be blocked. As soon as they get into black mana, they'll actually be able to get down their commander. This one, we need 2 basics. We'll just draw into the Sun Titan because I'm tired of looking at it. Tired of looking at it on top of our library, that is. We'll go for basic. And then this will be obviously 2 white, and then we have to put 1 into X twice in order to exile 1 card. See if our opponent has counter magic. And we'll draw into one of the lands that's on top. But it does mean that we're seeing 2 different cards on top of our library at least. Abjure isn't something I know. As an additional cost, sack a blue permanent, counter a spell. That's actually pretty good in a deck where you're playing a load of unblockable dorks. Never seen that card before. A 1 mana counter anything spell. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, so we at least drew into a card so that we can see 2 new cards on top. We'll go for the... Well, I don't know if we want to go for the Eidolon of Blossoms if our opponent is running around with that Jitte. We'll have to try and go for Sun Titan as soon as we can. And go for Maze of Ith. And then we can actually keep the counters off the Jitte at least. And then we put our opponent on some kind of clock with the Sun Titan. Hope that we get something good off the Miri's Guile here. Ghostly Prison. Do we want Ghostly Prison? Or Monk Idealist? I think Monk Idealist is what we want here so that we can go after that quarantine field. So in that case, why don't we go like that. We can Monk Idealist, we'll cast Mystic Remora to draw a card, and then we'll play the Breeding Pool in tapped. And then we'll go for a card draw here. The Argothian Enchantress. And then they need to decide if they want to counter this or not. Assuming they have counter magic, they may well not have counter magic. We'll get Breeding Pool in tapped so that we don't have to shock it in later. And then if we're struggling in another turn or 2, we do have to watch our life total now because that Glade Rider has been doing a lot of damage to us. I'm going to get a card draw here, which is good. We can Sterling Grove if we want to and go for something off of that. I'd rather not sack the Sterling Grove, but I don't suppose the Shroud really helps us any against a Dimir deck. They can't interact with enchantments very well. And they are coming at us again. And they're buffing the Glade Rider Sliver again. And that is 5, 6, 7 damage to us. If we take another hit like that, then we are done for. Our opponent is tapping out, which is good, but they get down their first ninja of the game. Deals combat damage to a player. You may draw a card. See if they manage to finally get into that black mana. So this hasn't been a very good showing of either decks, I don't think. This has really just been showing how much work the Umezawa's Jitte can do. One of the best equipments that's ever been printed. And it's proved it in this game. It's made it difficult for us. I mean, we haven't been able to get down the Eidolon of Blossoms. We couldn't keep our commander down. And therefore that shuts down our card draw. We want to... Oh, and they get their Underground Sea, which means we're most likely dead next turn. They can get down their commander and probably deal damage to us. Do we want to do this or not? I think, do we have to just go for Ghostly Prison? Why don't we have a look at what's on top first before we decide anything? Supreme Verdict, well, that'll do it. And Darksteel Mutation's quite nice as well. So we'll go Plea for Guidance, Darksteel Mutation and Supreme Verdict. And then we might as well... Yeah, we'll pay that. Because we're going to make a land drop this turn. Which is a forest. And then we can sack the Sterling Grove if we want to. But first, why don't we go in for... We need white, white and blue. And that will allow us to kill everything. It should slow our opponent down. They only have 2 cards left in hand, but we are down to 5 life, so we are in a precarious position. I think we might just go for Sun Titan onto the Maze of Ith next turn. Or we could Quarantine Field and get rid of a creature and the Jitte, assuming that they get into more weenies. Okay, we see a hard cast on Yuriko. Whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library, put it into your hand, and we lose life equal to the CMC. Don't think we're going to be going for Mystic Remora this turn. We could Darksteel Mutation. Yeah, we can go for Eidolon of Blossoms into Darksteel Mutation, I think. We also have Imprisoned of the Moon as backup. Cumulative Upkeep, always yield, and we want to not do that. Oh, we could have gone for Imprisoned in the Moon, actually. I don't think it matters either way. We'll go for Eidolon of Blossoms. Oh, and actually I've just realised that that thing's an enchantment, isn't it? So it had Shroud, so they couldn't have done anything with the Jitte to that anyway. And yeah, we draw into the Imprison in the Moon, so I'd actually rather go for that, I think. And we'll throw that onto our commander. And hope that they don't have a counter spell. And that enters the field and enchants our opponent's commander, so we get to draw a card, and we just have to hope that we can equalise now. We do still have Quarantine Field to get that Jitte off the field if we want to. I think I'd like to get into Sun Titan and Maze of Ith as soon as possible so that we can try and keep our opponent from swinging in and getting more ninjutsu triggers. Alright, our opponents eventually decided to get down Kefnet the Mindful, which makes perfect sense. For 4 mana, that is, draw a card, and then you may return a land you control to its owner's hand. So I think in that case, that is a perfect opportunity for us to get down Quarantine Field. We'll just have to hope that our opponent doesn't have counter magic. If they tap out, that's fine with us. They may well want to equip the Jitte. And what they're aiming to do here is pay 4 mana to draw a card, And then they can bounce this thing, it's a land, and they'll get their Yuriko back into their hand. Glacial Fortress, Aura Shards is good. Yeah, Aura Shards is good. I think I just want to make the land drop this turn. Because I'm not sure we can make... not sure what we want to do here. Yeah, we'll just go for Glacial Fortress and then we can guarantee a land drop. I'm really hoping that our opponent doesn't have... That will be 2, 4, 6 mana for that. 2, 4, 6 mana. We can Darksteel Mutation the bird. Oh, it's not a bird, it's a god. We can Darksteel Mutation that if we need to. So we'll try and do this for 6. And that, of course, will allow us to exile both the god, the bird god, and the Jitte. And we'll draw a card from the Eidolon of Blossoms here. If it enters, that is. And failing that, we can just go for the Darksteel Mutation on our opponent. We have 3 cards in hand and 2 mana held up currently. Okay, our opponent decides to let it enter, so we not only draw a card, but we get to exile these 2 things. We finally managed to get rid of the Jitte that's been doing so much work for our opponent this entire game. Unless, of course, they have some kind of bounce. Return a target creature to its owner's hand, okay. Well, they can do that if they want to. That still gets rid of the Jitte. And then we have... Yeah, nothing else to do, I don't think. We can swing in with this for 2. I think we're safe to do that. And we can Sterling Grove if we need to. I think it might be time for maybe even either plea for guidance, or we could go Sun Titan. And our opponent's just getting down the Kefnet again. Still have 3 cards in hand. So I think we definitely want to go for Darksteel Mutation next turn. And tapping out is good. Okay, that thing can't be blocked, so that is a 5-turn clock for us. We'll have a look and see what's here first, but I think we might want to get the Maze of Ith. Propaganda and Ghostly Prison would be good as well. But I'm liking making the land drops. We're going to draw a card here anyway, I think, depending on what we go for. We'll go for Sun Titan. Yeah, I want to get Sun Titan down. Not only is it something that can swing through, but it's also protection against these weenies. And then we can get down Mystic Remora and Argothian Enchantress if we want to. So yes, we want to use that. That will protect us against that thing. And then we'll go for the Enchantress. Not the Enchantress, the Kethnet. It can't attack or block, but what it can do is bounce Yuriko back to our opponent's hand. And we, of course, get to draw a card from an enchantment entering. And we get into that Propaganda. I think I want to get into Ghostly Prison and Propaganda next turn. No point in swinging in because our opponent has an indestructible 0/1 with no abilities. And we can Maze of Ith, our opponent's 1/1 unblockable. Pretty nerve-wracking stuff this so far. Like I said before, it hasn't been all that flashy a game. And we'll definitely Maze of Ith there. Yeah, it hasn't been all that flashy a game for either decks, but our opponent did get stuck on mana, in all fairness to him or her. So they can't exactly play out their commander unless they have black mana. But you can kind of see what they're going for. They have lots of weenies and unblockables in order to get down the trigger with Yuriko. But this is why I was intrigued to see what Yuriko actually did, because while it can cheat command attacks, I think you want to manipulate the top card of your library, and then you can reveal things like Omniscience and stuff like that, and deal big damage to your opponent. Destroy a target. Ugh. Yeah, I'm not too happy about that. We really could have got some value out of Sun Titan, so that's good for our opponent. They are at least emptying their library, and we did at least get the Maze of Ith back. And this is tap, target creature gains all creature types or loses all creature types, so that's fine. Don't really mind that. Rest in peace isn't something we have to worry about, I don't think. Yeah, getting down a Nihilea might be good, seeing as how it's an indestructible. Why don't we go for Ghostly Prison and Propaganda, and maybe Aura Shards as well. Karmic Justice might be good as well, actually. So this, of course, makes it so that our opponent has to pay 4 generic mana to attack with 1 creature. And do we want to Aura Shards or Karmic? I think Karmic Justice is just better here, seeing as how we don't have any artifacts or enchantments that we want to blow up. And then Prison Term is more answers for us. And again, no point swinging in. Wanting to get into an Eternal Witness now, or there is a little bit of life gain in this deck. There is Corsair of Krufix, and there is the 2 mana, I think it's a Satyr, that gets us a life every time we play an enchantment. Bitter Blossom we really don't want to see, so Aura Shards on that I think we're going to next turn. Aura Shards into Nihilea. Nihilea should be a creature when it enters. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 loyalty I think we need. Yeah, so that should enter as a creature and trigger the Aura Shards. Failing that, we could just go for our commander, which, yeah, we might do that. And our opponent decides to have us use the Maze of Ith trigger again. No, they don't. They remember. And now they have 1 card in hand. We get to use Miri's Guile again and see what we have here. Heliod. Heliod's good, I think. So we can go for Island. We'll grab Heliod. But first, we definitely want to Aura Shards here. Then we can blow up that Bitter Blossom. And then we'll play the island. And 2... Yeah, we have more than enough for Heliod. We also have 3, 4, 5. I think Tuvasa costs 5. Yes, it does. It's only died once. But I think I'd like to get down something that's indestructible, seeing as how our opponent does seem to be using destruction spells, and that is... Yeah, we managed to kind of drag the game out there after our opponent got down lots of weenies and was going on the beatdown plan with that Jitte. Had they not have had the Umezawa's Jitte, this game wouldn't have been anywhere near as close, but we were just managing to equalise there, and our opponent's clearly seen that and has decided to just pack it in. So hopefully you got some form of enjoyment out of that. It wasn't the most exciting game, but it did show that you should just try your damnedest and don't just give up when you think you're going to lose, because apparently you can often pull it back. So that was Tuvasa the Sunlit. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel, and I will see you all in the next one.